At the heart of America's military leadership, a tense moment unfolded. Marine Corps Base Quantico, usually a hub of discipline and routine, became the stage for a statement that could reshape the future of the Gaza conflict. On September 30th, 2025, US President Donald Trump arrived at Quantico to address a hall filled with top generals and admirals. The air was thick with anticipation, not for ceremony, but for the high-stakes declaration that was about to be made. Standing before the nation's military elite, Trump delivered a stark warning, one that echoed far beyond the walls of the auditorium. He announced that the United States was ready to finalize a Gaza peace deal that demanded the disarmament of Hamas. But the deal, he said, still hinged on a single unresolved signature. And then came the line that would dominate headlines. We have one signature that we need, and that signature will pay in hell if they don't sign. I hope they sign for their own good and create something really great. This blunt remark captured the gravity of the moment. It was more than just a negotiating tactic. It was a warning from the world's most powerful military-backed nation. For decades, the Gaza Strip has been a flashpoint of violence and suffering. Repeated attempts at peace have been shattered by cycles of conflict, distrust, and political division. The latest US-backed plan seeks to end that cycle by demanding that Hamas lay down its arms, paving the way for reconstruction aid and international guarantees aimed at stabilizing the region. Trump's tone at Quantico was unapologetically forceful. Known for his deal-making persona, he presented the plan as the culmination of years of failed negotiations, framing it as a final opportunity. His words, "pay in hell," sent a message not just to Hamas, but to all actors in the conflict. The United States was drawing a red line. The decision to make this statement in front of America's senior military leadership was not accidental. It underscored the seriousness with which Washington viewed the stakes, hinting at consequences that extended beyond diplomatic pressure. The presence of the military brass served as a visible reminder that the peace plan carried with it both incentives and implied consequences. The Gaza plan itself is ambitious but fraught with challenges. Crafted with input from regional players, including Egypt and Qatar, it proposes a phased disarmament of Hamas, monitored by international observers. In return, billions of dollars in reconstruction aid would flow into the enclave to rebuild shattered homes, schools and hospitals. The plan also promises a long-term ceasefire, an outcome that has eluded the region for generations. But the reactions were far from uniform. In Gaza, residents watched the announcement on television with a mix of hope and skepticism. Some saw in it a chance for relief after years of blockade and conflict. Others doubted that promises made in Washington or Doha would translate into lasting peace on the ground. Regional leaders, too, were divided. Some praised the US push as a necessary step, while others warned that threats and ultimatums risked further entrenching divisions. Beyond the headlines, the crisis remains profoundly human. The people of Gaza have endured immense suffering, homes reduced to rubble, children growing up amid airstrikes and uncertainty, hospitals stretched to their limits. For them, the promise of peace is not abstract. It is tied to the hope of rebuilding their lives and living without fear. Yet trust is fragile, and memories of broken ceasefires cast a long shadow over even the most promising initiatives. Trump's approach also places this moment within a broader historical context. US presidents for decades have sought to broker peace between Israelis and Palestinians. From the Camp David Accords to the Oslo agreements, each effort brought bold promises and fleeting optimism, often followed by renewed conflict. In this sense, Trump's warning from the podium at Quantico is both new and familiar, another chapter in a long, unfinished story. The juxtaposition of military power and diplomatic negotiation remains central to this moment. The image of Trump flanked by America's generals underscored the dual nature of the message, a call for peace backed by the implicit threat of consequences. Whether that mix can lead to a sustainable resolution or instead fuel greater resistance remains an open question. The global response to Trump's remarks was measured but pointed. International leaders and organizations welcomed renewed US engagement but expressed concern that hardline rhetoric could backfire. Some analysts argued that the threat of punishment might coerce compliance in the short term, but risked deepening resentment and undermining trust in the long run. Experts on Middle East policy stress that the deal's success hinges not just on signatures, but on implementation. Disarmament is a delicate and often dangerous process. Ensuring that aid reaches the people who need it most without being diverted or blocked will be equally critical. Without tangible improvements in daily life, even the most well-crafted agreements risk unravelling. As the meeting at Quantico concluded, the world was left to weigh the significance of the president's words. Would Trump's hardline warning spark a historic breakthrough, or would it deepen the divisions that have long fueled the conflict? The coming days and weeks may reveal whether the plan represents a genuine turning point or merely another missed opportunity. For those living under the shadow of the conflict, the stakes remain as real as ever. Parents in Gaza still hope to send their children to school without fear of violence. Families long for the chance to rebuild homes destroyed in fighting. And the broader region watches, wondering whether a new era of stability might finally emerge, or whether the cycle of confrontation will continue. From the stage at Quantico to the streets of Gaza, the weight of a single signature now looms large. The world watches closely, waiting to see whether words of warning and promises of peace can converge into something tangible. The future of the Gaza peace plan, and perhaps the region itself, may depend on the choices made in the aftermath of this decisive moment.